Well, it was a pleasure traveling with you, Mr. Smith. It's not every day you meet a man with such an interesting calling.
Same here, Rabbi. Take care.
Shalom.
All right, for those of you who listened to our Dark Tower episode, Dark Tower Book 4, we have ousted Pippin from the pod lab. So he will not be turning
Straight to jail.
He will not be turning on random voice modifications during the podcast. Luckily we can hear them in our headphones. Because can you imagine if we couldn't and I got to the end and I sounded like a reverb robot for the entire podcast?
Man. That would be so good for our ratings.
It would be so sad. I'd have to do the thing where I was like, there was some kind of audio complication, but we can't record it again, so here we go. All right. Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt.
And this is
We Are All Kosh.
a Babylon 5 fan cast. Yeah, sorry we're late. We got busy.
You don't need to apologize, Rachel.
Well, I do try to keep to a schedule. I mean, I know we could have sponsors actually. We're on the fence. We were contacted about an opportunity and I'm like, I don't know. Do we want ads? But to me, ads lend a certain amount of like gravitas to a podcast. And so that's the angle that I'm coming from. The like, we have enough listeners that somebody was like, hey, I could probably make money off of you.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're thinking about it, but I don't know. We were traveling all weekend. Again, we have traveled like 45 hours in the car over the last like 3 weeks. I'm just so tired. And we should hopefully be done with that now and we can get back to just having our regular schedule. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about Babylon 5 Season 1, TKO.
What episode number?
Oh, God, you would ask. I don't know why I didn't write that down.
I think it's 14.
I think it's 14, too. Yeah, I have it in my notes. I don't have it. I have 2 sets of notes because I was rushing. And so I'm going to have to.
Just like Ivanova.
I knew you were going to. I was waiting. I was like, oh, he's going to pick it up. He's going to pick up what I just put down, and you did. So we're going to try to keep this organized. We're going to try to get through this. Luckily, this is not the episode where it really matters.
Yeah, this is the nice chill episode.
This was almost.
I still mourn the lack of any ambassadors.
Yeah, we haven't seen Lanier or Veer in like ages.
We have no Londo, no Jakar.
No. That's what I was about to say. This is almost an elevator episode. Where last episode we were like, let's call everyone in. Put up the like bat signal to call all the actors in because everyone's going to be in this episode.
Yeah. And
then this episode they were like, well, yeah, we can't afford to have everybody come back, so we're just going to have this one be Sinclair, Ivanova, and Garibaldi. Everyone okay with that? And yeah, so that's it. They're the only 3 main characters in this episode. And for some reason, Garibaldi now is also like a fight coordinator. I don't know. He has a very, you know what he reminds me of? You.
Oh, yeah, I've done that job before. I can do that again.
Somebody is like, oh, I need help for this boxing, this alien boxing ring. And he's like, oh, I was a fight coordinator for a hot minute. Yeah, I can do that. When he was a battle-hardened 16-year-old
Yep.
on the ice mines of Europa. That was 3 years
before.
It
was, what was the... I haven't seen you since...
Orion 4.
Orion 4.
Yeah, when he was a battle-hardened 16-year-old on Orion 4, managing the underground fight rings. Before he got recruited by a hopeful guy who wanted him to become a security officer because he knew that Garibaldi was dedicated to justice. I wonder if Garibaldi has has backstory novels.
Ooh, there's a lot of opportunity there.
I think there's not a lot of time to work with, except there's a 17-year gap where I think you're pretty free. But other than that, you're limited because you know the timeline between, basically how old he was when he was on Europa. And there's only a couple years before. But I mean, it could have been like, you remember the Han Solo backstory?
Oh, yeah, I
book?
read those.
Yeah, where he's
the Han
like
Solo trilogy?
Yeah, where he's like the pickpocket. And yeah, I mean, that was really fun. And then they made the movie, which I didn't hate the movie. It was all right.
He was entertaining.
Someday we need to do the Star Wars just to force me to watch anything Star Wars.
I think I've heard so many good things, like in a good way, like counter to the just cash grab stuff about a lot of the extended universe, the new extended universe show content, like The Mandalorian and Rogue One.
Yeah. Well, we all know in this room, and maybe not in like the broad universe of Strange and Beautiful Book Club fan network, but I could crush you in the original trilogy trivia.
Oh, yeah.
I had Star Wars Trivial Pursuit.
I also had Star Wars Trivial Pursuit.
It was so old. I only had bonus cards from. Episode 1 comes out next year. Here's some bonus trivia cards.
I think I had that same version.
And for the dice,
we would get together every couple weeks and play it.
Yeah, the dice were R2D2. You just clicked the button, and he would go beep boop boop, and he'd come up with a little number. I had so much fun, and I could cut a bitch at some Star Wars Trivial Pursuit, but
OT.
I haven't really engaged in Star Wars content since like episode 3. I was like, well, this is some bullshit. I didn't watch anything else.
I know. You haven't even seen episode 7, have you?
Also, I will nope out of a toxic fandom so fast. It will make your head spin. Like I love Star Wars. And I feel like as much as I loved Star Wars, the fandom has become so
unpleasant.
It
can be unpleasant
to engage in that. Yeah. Like I would never dare to have a Star Wars podcast. I would never, because I wouldn't want to deal with the what you're talking about. Like it's hard enough being a woman talking about a largely masculine space already.
It's the same reason you're not in the Marvel stuff either.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I watched. Oh my God, I don't think I've watched a Marvel movie since Thor, like the original Thor. And I think I watched it with the kids and it was like, wow, this movie's really old. Like, has it really been this long since I've seen one? Yes, correct. It has. I don't know. I'll get franchise fatigue really fast. And then you add on to that, it's not even pleasant interacting with fans. And I kind of just don't really, it's just not a thing that I love. There's things that I really like. And I feel like the Babylon 5, the old fandoms, the like,
the legacy fandoms.
The legacy fandoms that grew up when the internet was young and fresh and fun. Mm-hmm. And there's a totally different vibe, like the Forever Night fandoms where right now there's a kind of a thing in the community where a lot of the old guard of the fan community who have kept their websites up since like 1998 are dying and or can no longer afford to or no longer know how to continue to host their own websites. So people have stepped up to migrate their websites to an archive. And so they're creating a whole archive of these legacy websites so that future generations of fans, should they appear, will be able to go on and find these like huge, lovingly crafted fan websites. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just, there's something about that that's so much more magical than like going to the Universal Studios Star Wars world or whatever. Or is it Disney now? So I guess it would have, when I went to the Star Wars world, it was in Universal Studios.
Wars, like Disney, I went to Disneyland Star Wars area and it was really cool. But I don't know that you would have liked it.
I would be okay with the
Maybe.
Star Wars one. Don't even get me started about Harry Potter. Don't get me started about Harry Potter. You want to
The
talk
cantina was the coolest part.
about? Yeah, you did send me a picture of you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. On to the episode. Now that we've gotten that was a snapshot of Rachel's fan psyche. Now you know why we do really obscure niche things, because they need love too. Okay, they need love too. And I know there's other Babylon
It's like
5
how
podcasts.
I
But
really like finding old, well-used hand tools,
yeah, because you know they've been loved.
and they're still maintained really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Babylon 5 communities like
That's why
that.
we like old houses too, because if for something to have survived in a vacuum as long as things like Forever Night and Babylon 5 have survived in a vacuum, Forever Night especially, because like you can't even stream it anywhere. They have to have been loved.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that makes them worthy of being honored by being chatted about and brought to a new generation of people.
Yeah.
This is really funny. I was looking at the demographics for We Are All Kosh.
Are we passing on oral traditions?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Because that is what a podcast is ultimately, which is why I don't like. Okay, don't. You're going to get me on another one. You were going to get me.
Okay, what were you saying?
Oh, okay. I was looking at our demographics for We Are All Kosh because
Okay.
we use this open source. It doesn't gather anybody's personal information, but it does just like whatever passes through the RSS feed, it picks up. And it will tell me like what countries listen to it, average age, what apps are being used. Anyway, we have like no American audience.
Yeah, the American audience is a minority.
In the 40%. Normally it's in the, fairly high because Americans are large consumers of podcasts, and also like we're American and it just gets distributed to the United States better, more efficiently than to anywhere else. But yeah, we have a really low, like most of our listeners.
It jumped up in April
Oh, okay.
to 53%.
Oh, I'm over half now. That's crazy. Still crazy low.
But in March, it was 39%.
Yeah. 39% of people who listened to our podcast in March were Americans. And so the rest were like Australian and British.
And the Dutch.
Like, I love this for us. We're international. Which means 3 people from America listen to it. 5 people from Australia. No, we have 157 followers on YouTube. I can't. This is so funny. I love this. This is the joy of doing a thing because we fucking want to do the thing.
Hobby, yeah.
And not because I'm like, but I'm not popular. I'm popular enough. It's fine. Fame has its price, is all I'm saying. We are
You're
on
my
IMDb.
favorite person.
Thank you. You're mine.
Thank you.
We are on IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
I looked myself up to see if I had any more credits. I don't. I haven't been anything else. I don't know what other credits I would have had. But at some point, Strange and Beautiful Book Club got added to the IMDb. Yeah. Oh my God, we're 13 minutes in. We've become one of those podcasts. We have to talk about this episode immediately. All right, this is Babylon 5, Season 1, Episode 14, TKO. What do you think the point of this episode was?
A rabbi and a boxer walk onto a space station.
You've been waiting. I love that
No,
for you.
I just put that together now.
Did you?
Yeah.
It had the feel of like, okay, I got this.
I think it's been stewing.
Yeah. It popped to the front, but it had been waiting, even if you hadn't been waiting. What do I think the purpose of this episode is just I think it's Ivanova character development. I think they realized that all the other characters had gotten an episode, and Ivanova had gotten the oops, I almost fucked a bad guy, and that was it.
Well, and she got the I'm secretly calling my dying father.
Yeah, we've had like 3 episodes where we had some kind of Garibaldi's gotten a lot of headspace. Like he's gotten a lot of backstory, and Ivanova has gotten oops, my dad died. Hey, my mom was a telepath and got caught not being registered and ended up killing herself. And then oops, I almost fucked a bad guy. And those were like the
She's
only.
had no closure or positive
No, it's
like
just been.
historical
No,
experiences.
and no one shared any of this with her.
Right.
The only time she's even talked about her life with anyone is when she was trying to explain to Talia why she will never be Talia's friend, ever, 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 and please don't fucking talk to me. And that was the only time. And it was like she used her pain like a weapon to be like,
Yes.
yeah, you need to stay the fuck away from me because you represent something really painful for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been listening to Becoming Superman, which is J. Michael Straczynski's backstory. And I will admit that I avoided listening to it or reading it for a while. I knew he had it, but when the title was Becoming Superman, I was like, okay. Like, okay, JMS, you're Superman. Fine. Like like if a
It's very pretentious
I'm trying to
sounding.
give a good analog for it, but like if I was like becoming whatever the most popular podcast host in the world, knowing full well I'm not anywhere near the most popular podcast host in the whole world, I was like, okay, whatever. And then I was like, okay, first of all, it's read by Peter Jurasik. And he has a whole thing at the beginning where he starts talking about why JMS is not reading his own autobiography.
Mm-hmm.
Because generally autobiographies are read by the person who wrote them, by the subject. And so it's kind of funny they add in a bunch of sound effects, but they're like sound check. And he goes, okay, Mr. Garibaldi. And I was like, yay! It's a really good moment at the beginning. But oh, holy fucking shit. You need to go. I'm going to have you listen to it and we're going to talk about it. But I feel like I can't tell you anything because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but oh my God, it's worth a listen. And one of the things I think I can share without really spoiling anything is that he had a really difficult, doesn't feel like it sums it up, but he had a really catastrophically horrific childhood. And one of the things that got him through it was Superman. And the idea that there are people out there who operate with a moral code and who will protect you and who will take care of you simply because it's the right thing to do. And I feel like you can see that reflected in his characters.
Yeah.
And he also said that Superman was the thing that taught him the importance of world building because Superman's world is so big. Because it's, partly because it's so old, but also because they just kept adding things, but it mostly stays consistent. And so he understood the purpose and the point of creating character and building worlds. And so Ivanova honestly had gotten short shrift. She had not been given any character development up till this point. And we're in 14 episodes into the season. And I think they were like, we need to resolve.
We need to balance out the backstories.
We need to give her something. We need to throw her a bone. She needs to not just be the strong Russian woman that stands behind the computer all the time. And that every once in a while, Sinclair uses her to strong arm people off of the command dome. So I think that's the point of this episode. And then I think that the Garibaldi section is just filler to keep it from being just Ivanova. Yeah. And so that it's not something so dramatic that it takes away from what we're seeing with Ivanova. Like if you want to forget everything that happens with Garibaldi and the boxer guy, you could go off. There's literally nothing that happens that you're like, okay, that has consequences for the overall plot. So yeah, I think it's literally like this episode is Ivanova's episode, and then Garibaldi's just there to provide some cutaway.
Some breaks.
Yeah, because literally, like you said, a rabbi and a boxer get off of a spaceship. The White Star Liner, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what he's getting on? That's what he's getting on.
That's what's getting
later.
on at the end.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, no, dog. I would never get on the White Star Liner. Is it called the Titanic? Is it? You know, it had sister ships. It had the gigantic also. Anyway, this episode first aired the 25th of May, 1994. It was written by Lawrence G. DiTillio and directed by John C. Flynn III. So this is not JMS's fault. We've established that now. Chronologically, Born to the Purple, the episode where her dad dies, is in August, and then is in April, and then this one is in August. So it's been 6 months. No, chronologically in the world.
Oh, okay. Because the rabbi says, or
she goes, it's been a couple of months. Yeah, he goes, I'm a rabbi, I meddle. Yeah, it's been 6 months. And I'm not sure how that was determined. Like, I don't know how anybody knows that that's April and that's all. I don't know if somebody at some point says a date. And there is also, and we haven't discussed this, different watch orders for Babylon 5.
Huh?
And people refer to them as like the aired order or the chronological order, sort of like in Forever Night Season 2, where they filmed it.
The production order was different than the air order.
Yeah. And so people adhere to the different orders because one will be chronological theoretically. I don't know how we determine what's, and then some people are like, that's bullshit. Just watch it the way it aired. So we're just watching it the way that it aired. That's the order we have chosen. But there are different watch orders. So I guess it would be kind of fun to, like, if you go back and rewatch it, switch it up and see if it makes more sense if you move things around. I know if we ever do Crusade has quite a controversial JMS recommended order and aired order. Because I was looking it up yesterday to be like, okay, when do we need to watch the movies? Because there's also movies, and some of them happen in the series. And so we really need to watch them like during, like between episodes. So I was looking that up and this popped up and I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot that there's like controversy. There's like, that's, I think, what
like
happens.
Any healthy fan community.
I think that's what happens in any legacy community where you get like, I have engaged with this content so much, I would like a new way to engage with it. Yeah. The guest stars are Greg McKinney, who plays Walker Smith. He died in 1998.
Oof.
Yeah, he died 4 years after this. He was only 41. And he died of an aortic rupture. What do they call it? What? I just lose the word. Where a blood vessel bursts in your brain. Aneurysm, thank you. Which I think is the same thing that Richard Biggs died of, Stephen Franklin.
Maybe there was something in the water.
Oh, I actually think Stephen Franklin, it was like an aortic tear. So it's like further, it's not in your brain, it's elsewhere. But yeah, it's kind of wild. And then soon TKO, the guy who plays the Mutado, if you saw him without makeup, you'd be like, oh, that guy. Oh, that guy. He was in The Man with the Golden Gun.
Okay.
He's like the Korean guy that they cast as every Asian guy for quite a while. He died in 2018, but he was 86. So curse didn't get him. And then Don Stroud, I don't think I wrote down who he is in it, but I think he's Kaladin, the guy that shows up and is like, I can get you in. Caliban, there you go.
We're not doing Stormlit Erica.
Not right now. And he's going to come back later as another character. And he was in License to Kill. That's why I wrote him down. He was also in a Bond movie. Theodore Bickel, the guy who plays the rabbi, he died at 91 in 2015. But he was the voice of Aragon in the 1980 Rankin and Bass adaptation of Return of the King.
Aragorn?
Thank you. Just getting all my stuff mixed up today. Aragorn, yes. In the, but the point was, he was in the Return of the King, the animated one. Stay on target. And this one I had to write down. There were a couple others, and I was like, they're just such a small character, I don't care. But the guy who's like, humans aren't allowed in the Mutai, and then later he's going to shoot him to keep him from fighting. That guy is played by Michael McKenzie, who in his career will play 3 Narns, 3 Drazi, 3 Mimbari, and 1 Grom. He's already been in The Parliament of Dreams. He's the Drazi pilgrim who's like, but my knife. And then he was in Mind War as the Narn captain. He was in By Any Means Necessary as another Narn captain. He's in TKO as Migo. That's that guy that tries to shoot. I think that's the time he's the Grom. It's the only time he's like not a Drazi or something else.
I thought he was a Drazi with like albinism or something. because a lot of the texture looks the same. It's just a different color.
But he's also in Points of Departure, Revelations, There All Honor Lies, Confessions and Lamentations, Convictions, Exogenesis, and Walkabout. So he will be in like 2 seasons.
We'll see you next time.
I will see you again, I guess. And then I had to credit Marianne Robertson, who is the We Have a Problem tech. The commander, we have a problem.
Oh, okay, on the CNC?
Yeah, who appeared in 20 episodes of season 1. She's only not in like 3 episodes.
More episodes than the ambassadors.
Is never given a name. She's only tech number 1. And this is her only credit on IMDb.
Aw.
This is the only thing she ever did. And all she does is go, Commander, we have a problem. I think one time she goes, we have like an SOS or like a distress call. But for the most part, she's just like, we have a problem. So she would literally show up, have some craft service table food, sit down, deliver her line, and then leave. I respect that for her. Maybe she was a single mom and she only had the time that the kids were at school and she would just show up and be like, I'm going to be an actor today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that for her. So, yes, we start off with the 2 storylines together. The rabbi and the boxer have talked. Rabbi Koslov and Walker Smith.
Yes, we get the sense they've been real chatty on the flight over.
Yeah, and they're like, wow, you have a really interesting life. I wish you a lot of luck in this endeavor of yours. And they're like, great. And then they bloop separate. And this is the point at which we are also going to separate the stories because it's where the stories separate. So it makes sense to separate them.
So we want to do Walker's first?
Yeah, we can do Walker's first.
Okay.
Because it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the funniest part is his interactions with Garibaldi.
Mm-hmm.
Garibaldi has so many friends and so many enemies. And so far, we've met mostly enemies. And this one is like, hey, I don't hate you. And he's like, the man who doesn't hate me. Hey.
Hey, some of his enemies turn into friends.
That's true. Yeah, after they murder people on your station, you just let
and
them
after
leave.
they try to murder him, after they try to arrest him.
Yeah, I mean, I would also be your friend if you let me get away with actual murder. Not that I'm still bitter or anything. But then we cut to Garibaldi in Down Below, and he's making an arrest of these 2 smugglers. He's not really a smuggler. The one guy hands over these, like, I think they're called slappers, but they're like a stimulant patch.
Yeah.
And the other guy hands him like a leather bag of coins. Like this is a high fantasy novel. And he literally bounces the coins in his hand.
In high school, I had a leather pouch that I kept clipped to my
Yes, you did,
pants,
I'm sure. I
kept my money in there.
Did you ever hand the whole bag to somebody and then they just jostled it in their hand and they're like, yes, this feels correct?
Nope.
Is it Centauri ducats? What the fuck is in the little leather bag? It's fine. It's fine. And Garibaldi like knocks them out, incapacitates them. And then he goes to call and be like, hey, I got some people down here for you. Oh, because he's like, oh, slappers, they still got the med seal on them. I guess you guys are both brain surgeons. Thank you, Garibaldi. The one-liner really set the tone, you know? Yeah. And so as he's calling, one of them gets up and pulls out like a weapon. And Walker Smith walks up and punches the guy in the face and knocks him out. And he's like, someday, Garibaldi, you're going to have to learn to watch your back.
One of these days, Garibaldi, you're going to learn to watch your back. Walker Smith.
Which might be the most important line in this entire episode, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because someday Garibaldi really not saying anything. I didn't say anything.
Check yourself.
And they're like, oh my God, best friends. Hello, brother. And then they're walking and he's like, oh my God, what did you do since Orion 4? And he's like, oh my God, I've been everywhere. His dialogue is so rife with the kind of lingo. Yeah. The kind of world building comments you put in there and then don't explain, just to be like, there's a lot more going on than you're even seeing on Babylon 5. Because he's like, man, I've been all over. It's a long story and a wet one.
I know, I saw all your fights. Man, you were something. Everybody said you were on your way to the world title until...
You believe what they said about me?
No, but I'd still like to hear it from you.
It's a long story and a wet one. I need to get a berth and make some connections. I'd say we'd hook up in around 30 rounds.
I know a place off the Zocalo, the Dugout. Just your style. Red 5. I'll see you there.
I heard some stuff about you too, Garibaldi.
You believe it?
Hell yeah.
I interpreted that as we need to have a drink together for me to tell this story.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Because I need to wet my whistle.
I was like, is it sweaty? I don't understand. Why is it wet?
No, the story, like the telling of the story,
Yeah.
is long and wet because I need to be drinking.
Right. And he's basically like, I fought my way up to get a shot at the title. They told me to throw the fight and they would pay me enough that I could retire for a couple of years. And I said no, because I am an honorable man and I fought my way here through the Goblin City to fight this guy, to take my chance at the title. And I'm not going to just toss it away for whatever. And they ended up, Garibaldi's like, oh, so they framed you. And he goes, like a picture. Which I did like that too.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, they accused me of being on adrenals. They accused me of
they doctored his
doctored my
test.
blood test and just got me completely blackballed out of the boxing world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just been chasing that high ever since then. And so now I'm here. And Garibaldi's like, oh, okay.
What are you gonna do here?
And he's like, well, you know what? Actually, let's talk about that over. Let's eat dinner later. This is the same thing that happens in both, where they meet, they have a brief conversation, and they're like, hey, let's finish this conversation over dinner.
Yeah. So then they go to a sports bar.
Wait. We get my favorite. Can't skip this. When Walker's like, I've heard some stuff about you too, Garibaldi. And Garibaldi goes, oh, yeah, you believe it? And he goes, hell yeah. That was a good moment. Because then they go to eat. And it's in this dive bar. He's like, it's right off the Zocalo. You'll love it. And he's like, if you close your eyes and add a bunch of salt, this tastes just like that place from wherever we were before. And he goes, oh, you mean the one where all the waitresses had 3? And he gestures at his chest. And Garibaldi goes, that's the one. And he goes, man, you always were a classy guy.
Specialty of the house. Zune burgers, Jovian tubers, and a miner's draft of Traxian ale. You drench it in ketchup, and you'll swear you're back in that place on Cestus.
Where the waitresses all had 3.
Yeah. That's the joint.
You always were a classy guy.
Which I feel like we're not adding on to Garibaldi's backstory. We're just reinforcing it.
Yeah, that he's a bro.
Yeah.
He's a bro's bro. And we'll eventually learn more about some of his past female relationships, but he's the kind of guy that always has a more comfortable relationship with men than he ever will with women.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ivanova gets a pass because half the time she's trying very hard to just be one of the guys.
Yeah.
And so he ends up bonding with her a little more than maybe someone else. But yeah, he's definitely when other male characters are around, he's a completely different character than when he's trying to interact with women.
Yeah.
And it's, it's a symptom of being raised in the
patriarchy.
In the patriarchy, which is just women are scary. Women are dangerous. Any touch of the feminine will contaminate you.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they enjoy some burgers. What meat is on the burgers?
Shh. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Because steak is so expensive. They have to fill out an import form. I think he says, and he talks about this is some kind of ale. And we do get a moment where he's like, oh, I heard you weren't drinking anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And Garibaldi's like, yeah, I'm just not, it's not my thing anymore. And he's like, yeah, you were a shit drunk, man. You were a shit drunk, man. And he's like, wow, really? Really? And he's like, yeah, no, I'm glad you gave it up. You were asshat. That was terrible. And he's like, oh, so when I met you, you were 9 sheets to the wind? 7 sheets to the wind is the phrase, since we don't have a lot of American listeners. I don't know if that's an international phrase or not, but usually it's 7 sheets to the wind or 3 sheets to the wind.
Yeah.
3 sheets. You're 3 sheets to the wind. But he's like, you were 9 sheets to the wind and trying to beat somebody up and whatever. And that's how we met.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was a British term. It's sailing.
Oh, yeah.
Term.
You're right. Correct. I know the one we say out there flapping is parachuting.
Okay.
It's a parachuting term when your parachute doesn't fully inflate.
Yeah.
You're out there flapping. Anyway, They basically met by beating each other up, which is the most bro way two people could ever meet
Right.
each other.
Getting in a bar fight.
Yeah. So this is a good moment. This is just like a Garibaldi hanging out with his buddy moment. And they head off, and this is when he explains his whole backstory. And he includes a lot of lingo here, and I'm just going to put the whole quote in because it's like the Cindy, the Sport Corps.
After I beat Itagi, I was the #1 contender for the title. And that's when it came down. Sport Corp had invested a bundle in Fasaro, and they were not about to let him be beat. So they told me it wasn't my time yet. They said they would make it worth my while to retire for a few years.
So you told him to stuff it.
And I wasn't that polite about it. I worked long and hard for a title shot, and I didn't think there was anything they could do.
That's when they framed you?
Like a picture. Doctored my blood test to make it look like I was popping adrenals. Spread the word that I was a stooge for the Cindy. The Nets ate it up, and me along with it. I haven't been able to get a legitimate fight in 2 years. I earned that shot, Mike. I sweated for it, I bled for it, I dreamed of it. And they took it away from me like it was nothing. Like I was nothing.
So why'd you come to Babylon 5?
To make history. Be the first human to fight in Muay Thai.
And a lot of abbreviations for probably larger. It's an interesting.
It felt it felt like a very organic representation of what it's like to listen to someone talk about like an entire sports.
Oh, when you're talking
field.
about your shit and you're like, this is my pre-prod, blah, blah. And I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know what any of what you're saying, but I'm so happy to be here for you.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you for listening.
Because when you talk to your friends who know what you're talking about, you don't have to say the whole thing. You can say the
Right.
thing. And then me, I'm like, I don't know. I don't talk to people about software all day, every day. I argue with people about doing their school and how much screen time they're allowed to have. And please get off of Minecraft. And that's about, the length and the breadth of the type of conversation that I generally have with people. So, when you have this kind of conversation, this is what makes it feel like they have a shared history. It makes it feel like there's a larger world that we're not privy to. And then we don't necessarily need to. We just need to know that the world is bigger
Right.
than what we've currently seen.
And that they share all of this context.
Yeah. And he's like, so basically, that's why I'm here to fight in the Muay Thai. And Garibaldi's like, I'm sorry, the Muay Thai?
And I appreciate that Garibaldi does not shift from his initial reaction.
Ever.
No.
He's like, I'm sorry. One, humans are not allowed in the Muay Thai. So sorry, bro. That's not going to happen. Second of all, there's no ring. There's no rules. There's no rounds. You get in there and beat the shit out of each other.
There is a ring.
And there's lots of rules.
And there's lots of rules.
Yeah, but he's like, you get in there, you beat the shit out of each other. And then, yeah, dude, you could die. And he's like, it's gonna be awesome, is what you're saying, right? And my thought was, why?
Good. It's as serious as I heard. Thank you for,
Yeah,
thank you for reassuring me.
he goes, I figure I'll go punch a couple of snakeheads, and then I'll be back on top again.
Ugh.
Wow, you know whose attitude does shift? Walker Smith's.
Yeah.
Because at first he's like, it's a couple of aliens. How hard can it be?
Right.
Well, I don't know. Maybe if they're from a higher gravity planet, it could be pretty fucking hard. Like they could be like dense in terms of just like bone structure and muscular structure, and then they could be a lot stronger than you. Like there's a lot that could go wrong here. And he's like, no, it's fine. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be good at this. And my question was, why is the Muay Thai on Babylon 5 if it's that dangerous? Do they rent that venue? Did they take over a storage space and clear the boxes out?
I wouldn't be surprised if the Muay Thai was registered as a like religious organization.
Oh, that would be a good way to get around. That's why they have like
it's a
priest.
cultural institution.
But where was it before?
Oh, I think there's many Muay Thais.
Okay.
But I think Babylon 5 is probably the only one that a human could get to.
Yeah. Because otherwise you'd be on a planet.
Right.
So this is more of like, this is an easier to, and then they have all that neon. And my question later in my notes was, did they send them a branding kit?
This was all just left over from other stuff.
Is it a franchise? Do you sign up, you pay the franchise fee, and then they send you a branding kit and you have to hang up all of your neon. You have to put ghillie suits on all of your boxing, your punching bags. Because they go later and there's like fake grass down the wall, like that. The blind stuff that you get when you go hunting is like on all the walls. And then they've wrapped the punching bags in that same like camouflage ghillie suit style material. Why? Why is it supposed to look like a tree? Why did we disguise the boxing like punching bag?
For ambiance.
Okay. All right. To make it a set. Otherwise it was just, we went down to whatever used sports place.
Right, because we don't want it to be human athletic gear.
And it could have been not a real punching bag. It could have been just like a stuffed thing that they hung. Yeah. And then they're like, punch this, make it look real. And he's like, oh, okay.
Don't go too hard though.
But you don't just, don't make it move too much. And he's like, okay, I can do that. So they go to where the Muay Thai is. And he walks in and this older fellow walks up and he's like, hey, humans aren't allowed here. You got to get the fuck out. And he goes, relax, E.T.
This place is only for Mutare. Go.
Relax, E.T. I'm looking for the Mutado. I'm Walker Smith from Earth. I'm here to fight in the Muay Thai.
Humans do not fight in the Muay Thai. Go back to Earth. Walker Smith.
Who the hell are you?
I'm just here to punch a couple of snakeheads. Oh my God. His whole attitude at the very beginning, you can see why he gets kicked out. It's interesting. It feels like, well, I guess it kind of feels like human posturing. Like this is how someone who wanted to be perceived as strong would approach this situation if you were interacting with other humans.
Right. And I feel like, or I got a little bit of a vibe that both of them were doing the same thing. This posturing.
Yeah.
To convey confidence, you are dismissive and almost insulting of the other because you want to face off against someone who also perceives themselves as extremely like competent at fighting.
Yeah.
And so you're almost like provoking fights in order to find the strongest fighter.
Yeah.
Because they're dismissive of humans in an almost insulting way. And he's dismissive of all the people preparing for the Muay Thai in a very dismissive way, almost insulting way.
Yeah.
And they have to earn each other's respect.
I mean, kind of. I can kind of see that, except, he's basically saying this is not a human institution. And you came in here acting like, I mean, I can totally see the Mutado's point where he's like, no, you came in here and acted like this was nothing. And we were nothing. And our tradition meant nothing. And that you called me E.T. for one thing.
Right.
And he punches him in the face. Yeah. He's like,
you're being disrespectful.
You're being disrespectful.
And I think that's part of what shifted Walker's opinion on this.
Yeah.
Or I guess his mindset. I think he was going in it with all the human like boxing culture bravado.
Yeah.
Not because that's how that's his default position, but that's how he's been like trained to interact with people.
That's the patriarchal like dick swinging.
Right. But as soon as he was like, oh, this is a respect culture.
Damn it. I really approached this from the wrong angle.
Right.
Yeah.
God, I should have paid more attention.
Yeah.
That's not who I am as a person. That's just the character that I play in the in the Terran like boxing culture. I play that character because that's how you have to act to participate. This is a respect culture. I can do that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a bigot or something.
Right. I mean, I kind of acted like one because then they leave.
Right. He's acting like a bigot because that's kind of how you have to act.
Right. Well, he gets punched in the face and they leave in disgrace.
Right.
And so he and Garibaldi are. Garibaldi.
So I'm trying to be as generous to Walker Smith as possible.
I think that's fair because he does shift, and as soon
he
as he
shifts
does,
immediately.
right. And I think it's more of like a God. I can't believe I read the room wrong.
Right.
I should have done a bit more research on the Mutai. I just thought they'd be happy to have me.
Right.
And Garibaldi's in his uniform for a lot of their interactions. Is he at work?
Is he on duty?
Is he on duty? Anyway, they go to the Zocalo and they're sitting at a bar because he needs a minute to kind of be like, God damn, I handled that bad. I handled that poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And Garibaldi's like, fuck, yeah, you did. Oh, Jesus, that could not have gone worse. I can't believe you did so bad at that. And he's like, oh my God, man, like you got to have my back here. And he's like, no, that guy was right. You went in there with a lot of disrespect. This institution has been around since 2 years ago. And you really need to respect their honored traditions, you know, fighting people and shit. The Mutado has fought over 1,000 Mutais. So, yeah,
like
man.
10 a day.
I know. So Smith gets up and he goes, you know what? Stroke off. And he leaves, which is fuck off. Let's fuck off. It's fuck off by any other name. And he leaves. And then this is when he runs into Caliban.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an alien who inexplicably and never explicably, like just randomly pops out of the bushes and is like, hey man, you want to be in the Mutai? He's like, yeah, hell yeah, I want to be in the Mutai. And he's like, oh, I know how. Follow me. There's no horror novels start this way. Oh, you want a thing? I know how you get the thing.
Yes, he's the Fae.
Yeah.
Drawing you deeper into the world.
Let's strike a bargain. It's going to be totally fine. And the only thing I really want to point out later is there's this Centauri at the Mutai. He's like the only Centauri in the whole crowd. Mm-hmm. And I just want to point it out because up till now, except for Londo, they've really half-assed everybody's crest, including like main characters' crests. This guy's crest is so full and so luscious and curled back so perfectly, he looks like he's wearing a really large Gibson girl. And the Gibson girl is the like 1920s girl hairstyle where they would have like from Somewhere in Time where she has the like puff.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's there every time they do this scene. I just want to point that out. So if you're watching it, do look for the Gibson girl Centauri because he's there. So later, Walker Smith tracks Garibaldi down again. And he's like, man, I just want to say I'm really sorry for you being right and me not liking it that you were right. But there's a Mutai fight tonight if you want to go. And Garibaldi's like, why? Why are we going? And he's like, oh, I want to go like watch it.
I want to go see what I was going to miss.
I just want to go check it out.
The show Ren fights tonight. That's what they call the champion Mutai. I have a couple of ducks. What do you say? At least I get a chance to see what I missed. These ducks cost me a bundle.
And he's like,
with my buddy.
With my buddy. And he's like, as long as you promise we're just going to watch the Mutai. And he's like, oh yeah, just going to go watch the Mutai. Oh my God. And so they go to watch the Mutai and it gets to the end and the Shorin. I love that they were like, it's a fighting thing. Should we make it Asian? And they were like, can we not make it Asian? I think we have to make it Asian.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so the Shorin, the local champion, basically pops up, and he's like, "Okay, here's a Drazi. He's the bravest of his race." And the guy does the thing from, was it Ip Man, or where he like kicks him in the face? There's the whole lead up, and then he does the like knee to the guy's head.
Yeah.
God, I can't remember the name of that. I don't think it was.
It was the.
Oh, it's like a. Oh God,
it's the Thai one.
Yeah, and is it Ong Bak the Thai warrior?
Yeah.
Okay. God, got it on the same episode. Hell yeah. Oh, and I think that the polarized hull is from Enterprise.
Okay.
Because they don't have shields. They polarize the hull. Anyway, yeah, in Angbak, the Thai warrior, there's a whole lead up, and then the guy just walks up and literally knees the guy in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And he is taller than this guy. So it's worth watching that movie. We rewound and rewatched that scene like 4 times. I was like, did he just, how? Like, how? I can't even. Sometimes I struggle getting out of our bed because I've moved too far away from the edge and I'm like, so far. And this guy needs somebody in the face. Basically, that's what happens. I want you to imagine that's what happened because that's what they want you to see happening. Mm-hmm. This is supposed to be like the fighter, like the most powerful Muay Thai guy.
Yeah.
And so he kicks him and he doesn't kill him, but he knocks him out. And the Muay Thai Do pops up and he's like, hell yeah, Shorin, still the Shorin. Are there any challengers who believe they are brave enough to take on the Shorin next? And this is when Smith steps up and he's like, me dog. I'm the most brave. And he's like, your race does not walk on the sands of blood or whatever. And he's like, oh, because they fear the Shorin, but I'm the bravest of my race.
And when I defeat him, they will no longer fear him.
Yeah.
Your people do not walk in the sands of blood.
They fear the Shorin, but I am the bravest of my race. And when I face him in the Muay Thai, their fear will be gone.
Look, he doesn't know what he's saying. This is a mistake.
Do not interfere. The challenge is worthy. What says the Shorin? The challenge is accepted in 3 cycles.
And they're like, oh, you said the words. Those are good words. Mm-hmm. And so he gets to be in the Muay Thai in 3 cycles.
Yep.
He's like, you will face the Shorin in 3 cycles, which could be 3 months, it could be 3 weeks, or it could be 3 days.
I
or
get
3 years.
I think it's 3 days.
It's 3 days.
I think a cycle is a day.
Yeah.
Ish.
Although he has like a training montage. He does go like one day and punch a bag and knock a couple of people out. And they're like, yay, you're ready. That's when Garibaldi is like, does he have a chance? And the other guy's like, well, he's going to fight bravely. It's going to be fine. The Shorin does have to kind of lay into it, like to, and he's like, yeah, it's fine. We'll do it. Gyor, that's the Shorin's name.
Yeah.
Gyor. I want to address Gyor's makeup for a second because it was giving me. Do you remember in Preacher when that guy got shot in the head?
Yes.
And he looked like he had a dick head?
Yeah.
He doesn't not look like he has a dick head. And then later, when he's getting punched in the face a lot, he has like white silver blood.
Yeah.
So then white silver blood is coming out of it. I just wanted to, I'm not going to like, but it looks like a dick. Anyway, so we're gonna move on from Gyor's. You know, how hard would it be if you like met an alien race and they looked like some part of human anatomy and you had to be like, no, don't call them dickheads. It's better than snake. No, it's not better than snakehead. None of it is good. I don't know where I'm going with that. I just was like, wow, he looks like a dick. And then when they added the blood, I thought, was it on purpose? It was kind of like there's a kid show called Blaze and the Monster Machines, and the entire theme song is like "Let's Blaze."
Did they know?
Did they know that?
Was that on purpose or was that an oversight?
I don't know. I'm like, you guys know that means smoking marijuana, right? Like, look, is that? Are we? You know what? It's fine. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Long ago, makeup guy probably had a really good chuckle. Yeah, why don't we make his blood white? No one's going to catch it. It's a CRT TV. We did get a new TV, but it was the opposite direction. It was the exact opposite direction of getting a CRT TV to experience this in real time. However, there is a Zima ad in this episode. When they're at the bar, over on the wall, there is a Zima poster. Now I need a Zima poster for our 90s lounge. Clearly. I was like, oh my God, is that a Zima ad? And we had to
We can make
rewind
that happen.
He's really like, you have to admire Walker because he's lost every avenue of getting back to the career he loved. And he definitely could have just given it up and done something else. But he was like, no, I fighting is my life and I want it back. And he's talking to Garibaldi later and he's like, this dude's going to beat you up. He's fucking huge. He looks like a dick. He's going to hit you in the head and you're going to die. And he's like, okay, you're really misunderstanding the point here. It's that I may lose, but he's going to show me where my heart is.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is going to be a challenge. He's like, humans, I could beat them up all day long. No problem. And I'm tired of it. He's like One Punch Man. He's looking for like the challenge.
I'm tired of the easy fight.
Yeah, I'm tired. Like I'm
tired of being the strongest person in the room.
I want two hits. I want two Punch Man. I want to hit people twice. And he does try to train. He goes and punches a punching bag wrapped in a ghillie suit, and he gets called brave. And then he says that Garibaldi's going to be his, and there's a word for it, and I'll just put in the quote here. And he's like, he's my fight coordinator. And Garibaldi shows up in like his fight coordinator outfit. Like he has maybe he got it. Remember the episode where Sinclair and Londo were in disguise?
Yeah.
And he had the pea coat / cape thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we figured
they went to Sinclair like, I need an official looking outfit.
In that episode we said it was probably Garibaldi who had some kind of like
Sinclair
disguise
went
cabinet.
to Garibaldi. Yeah.
In Garibaldi's disguise cabinet, he must have his Muay Thai fight coordinator outfit in case he ever needs to go incognito. And he shows up in it and he's like, okay, he's got reach on you. You need to get inside him. Where did you learn this, Garibaldi? Watching Duck Dodgers? But I don't understand. Garibaldi, he's
got a varied backstory.
It's fine. That's why I want to know. Does he have backstory novels? I feel like he should. And so they proceed through this gold glitter curtain. And I love the good curtain in the backdrop of these old television shows because that tells me this is either a small set or a reused set and they just partitioned off sections of it. This is probably the corridor of conflict, honestly. And they just hung that curtain and you can walk through it and now you're like, oh, there's another room over there. And honestly, it's probably just the other part of the set or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they come through and they fight. And it's, exactly what you imagine a bunch of people. They like punch each other until they are down on their knees and they're just like, huh. Like,
right. All they can do is a single kind of punch.
Yeah.
And
it was
they're
like
just trading blows back and forth until they're so exhausted that they collapse.
Yeah. And then the Mutado comes up and he's like, it's a draw, but you have taught us to respect humanity and humans will now be allowed into the Mutai. You're like, hey, yay. We all learn to respect each other. Yay.
I feel like this is a standard rite of passage in the Mutai. Like, your race not allowed in the Mutai.
Yeah.
And then somebody's persistent enough to get into a fight with the champion and then successfully fight them, probably whether they win or lose or anything. But the fact that they were persistent enough was the test. And then, do they comport themselves honorably in the fight?
Right.
And if they were persistent enough to actually challenge the Shorin and they fought honorably, regardless of the outcome, it's like, your race is now allowed in the Mutai.
Yeah. I think that's probably a fair assessment because you must walk on the sands of blood first.
Yeah.
You must prove you are brave. And I think every other race probably just has a long enough history that they've forgotten about when they first fought in the franchise.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's a story. It's a thing that happens. There's punching. And if you kind of squint a little and pretend they had money for like a really expensive fight coordinator, it would be really cool, And it's fine. It's a thing that happens.
Yeah.
And there's some good lines, and we get some good moments with Garibaldi. But the point of this episode is the Ivanova plot, because Ivanova's dad died. Everybody remember? And she didn't even tell anyone that he was dying. She literally stole time on the Gold Channel to be able to call him. Yeah, remember the whole Gold Channel must be gremlins, but it's not going to happen again, right? And she was like, nope, I have no family left. I'll be fine. He's like, you want to grab a drink? And she's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. And that was the only time that we've ever really addressed it. And we just left it. And hey, guess what? We're back.
Yep.
Ivanova has a tragic ass backstory. Okay. Her mom died, didn't just die. And we're going to learn more about her mom and why her loss felt so critical and so crucial and so personal to Ivanova. But right now we do know the bare facts, which are still traumatic enough, which is that her mother was telepathic, hid it. Eventually it was found out somehow. And she was forced to take this medicine that made her not telepathic anymore, but it also slowly killed her. And she killed herself because she couldn't bear life like that.
Right.
And this is the first mention that we get that she had a brother, Ganya, and that he died during the Earth-Minbari War. And
that inspired her to join Earth Force.
And we're going to learn more about him eventually also, because she's going to get a really rich backstory. That's why I'm not that bummed about how long it's been taking, because I know it's coming. And now her dad also died. And her dad died. She didn't attend the funeral because she said
busy
there was
working.
Busy working. And she's basically just alone.
Yep.
She has no one left, which is really sad. And then the one guy she thought she knew turned out to be like a white supremacist.
Right.
Which really fucking sucks. And so we pick up with her, and she's actually, she's carved out a life for herself.
Right.
She has found a sort of peace. She has really found an equilibrium for herself out here.
Yeah.
And I think that's why she resents the rabbi coming at first, because it's like, I'm peacefully oblivious. I have detached myself from all that, and I would really rather not. I've pushed it down. I'm happy where it's festering. It's aging like fine wine, and I don't want to touch it right now. And she's laying on her couch in a flowy white shirt and a purple vest, and she's all dressed up.
There's a scene that I've seen people use like as a meme from King of the Hill.
Okay.
On how to handle emotions. Can we just play it on here?
Sure.
Gee. Luann, sometimes life throws you a curveball. Now, there's two ways you can deal with it. You can cry, and that's the path you've chosen. Or you can not cry.
How do you not cry?
Well, instead of letting it out, try holding it in. Every time you have a feeling, just stick it into a little pit inside your stomach and never let it out.
Are you supposed to have a pain under your rib?
Yes, that's natural. The body doesn't want to swallow its emotions. But now you go ahead and put that pain inside your stomach, too.
I think it's working, Uncle Hank. I feel sick, but not sad.
There you go.
That's how Ivanova deals with her emotions.
You can be sad, or you can just swallow it all, that you can just not cry. So she's chosen to not cry. But she is lounging in her room, and she is dressed up for lounge time.
She's got a flowy blouse with a like satin purple vest.
Yeah. Her hair's down. It's slightly curled. It's coiffed.
She's on like a nest
of pillows. And she's reading a Harlan Ellison book called Working Without a Net, which is a book that does not exist. It's supposed to be the Harlan Ellison autobiography.
Okay.
And Harlan Ellison actually wrote a couple of episodes of Babylon 5. And he's a new age sci-fi writer.
Okay.
And J. Michael Straczynski is a big fan of New Age sci-fi.
Mm.
So this is kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to a friend.
Yeah.
And yes, that's his real picture on the back. And they apparently gave this prop to Harlan Ellison, and he would carry it around as like a joke, like a book. And he said he was actually writing an autobiography called Working Without a Net. And as of 2008, he had contacted his publisher and stated he was working on it. And then he died in his sleep in 2018, and it was never written. So it was a book that was intended to be like this will exist in the future, but it hasn't existed yet.
Yeah.
And that's why in the future she has it.
Right.
But it never got written. So, but he did write one called, I think it's called Cry Harlequin or Repent Harlequin, said the TikTok man. And it's from 1965, and it was a short story, and it won like 3 awards. It won the Nebula Award in 1965. It won the Hugo Award for Best Short Story in 1966, and in 2015, the Prometheus Hall of Fame Award. And I bring this up for a couple of reasons. We did that one book where they trade in time. You sell minutes of your day or minutes of your life or hours of your life. Oh, and it was that one where some people live in the city and some people are like biologically changed workers, where they send them out onto the planet to do work. And your time awake and your time asleep gets bartered. And it was that one that you made me read. It was like the French sci-fi guy. And he was like...
Oh! Okay, yes. With Gevulat.
Yes.
Hanu Rainimi.
Yes, Hanu Rainimi, that one. And I didn't like it. But it's effectively the same plot where they like... It's the future. Time is super regulated. And like if you're late for something, that amount of time that you're late gets removed from your life. And so the TikTok man is like the police officer. But I mentioned it because we just read the 4th Dark Tower book. And in the 3rd Dark Tower book, there's a character named the TikTok man. And it's probably a reference.
Yeah.
It's probably
the publication date sounds like the right time frame for Stephen King to have read it.
And been like, haha, TikTok man.
I like the TikTok man, the name of the TikTok man, yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to throw that out there. But he's a well-respected sci-fi, and he wrote what some people consider to be the best episode of Star Trek ever. And it's one of the original series Star Trek episodes.
Okay.
And it would be fun to start Star Trek at the beginning and go through the rest of it. That would be like the rest of our lives. Like if we never wanted to talk about anything but Star Trek ever, we would do that. Maybe we'll do just the original series. But yeah, he's a thing. Like you should know who Harlan Ellison is. But this is a book that doesn't exist. And she's laughing. I wanted it to be like a serious tragedy sci-fi, and she was laughing at it, but no. That's why I looked it up. But this is when the rabbi appears at her door. And he's like, oh my God, Susanovich.
Suzanchka.
Whatever he calls her. And she's like, oh, Rabbi, whatever. And she's like, you used to call me Uncle Yassel. And she's like, oh, hey, Uncle Yassel. And he's like, yeah, so have you sat Shiva for your dad yet? And she's like, oh, wow.
I'll do it with you. Let's
do it
ready.
right now. Let's do it right now. You got an outfit? I'll invite every Jew on the station. It's going to be fine. You ready? She's like, I'm sorry, what? Hang on. Whoa, what? And he's like, well, first of all, I have a legacy to give you. But I was going to give it to you at the funeral, and you never showed up to the funeral. So, yeah. And she's like, oh, I was busy. Yeah, I couldn't.
I had to wash my hair that day.
I couldn't get. Yeah, that was a hair wash day. I couldn't get away. And he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'd love to talk to you about it while you're here."
It's too late now, anyway. And
he's like, "Oh, it's been a couple of months."
Nah, bro. You can still do it.
I'm pretty sure it's fine. You can do it now. And she's like, "Cool. Well, I gotta wash my hair again. Actually, I'm just really busy. Like, I got a lot going on." She's sitting there in her like leisure
let's have
outfit.
dinner later.
Yeah, 200 or 2000. And he's like, what? And she's like, 8:00. And he's like, ugh, blue 5, 2000. Ah, oy vey. He does a pretty good job. being like exasperated rabbi who's never left Earth before, but came all the way out here for Susan because he's a friend of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And so he does what any good rabbi would do and goes immediately to Sinclair. And reading Becoming Superman, I feel like I understand the Sinclair character much better.
Okay.
Because one of the things that Babylon 5 gets kind of criticized for, and one of the things that I love it for, is it has a lot of unabashedly good characters.
Right.
It's the same reason I love Superman, and the same reason that Superman usually gets criticized is he's a good boy. He's
good on purpose.
He's just good. There's no chaser of irony, no secondary dark nature, no hidden agenda. No, he's just a good dude.
Right.
And that's why JMS liked him. It's because he's just a good dude. And I think that there's definitely room in the zeitgeist for characters, female, male, however.
Hey, there's a dearth of completely bad characters, completely evil characters. Not a dearth.
A glut.
A glut.
Yeah, I was going to say there's lots of them.
There's a preponderance.
Yes.
Of one-dimensional evil characters.
Yeah, and they get criticized too, but also
how about some 1.5-dimensional good characters?
Yeah, why can't we just have a good guy character?
Right.
I'm fine with a golden boy character. I love an anti-hero, as has been established, but I don't mind like the I am a good person because being a good person is right.
Mm-hmm.
Like Aragorn. I gotta write that time. It is okay to be. This is why I brought up the other podcast where we talked about conditional morality, like contextual morality, versus like set in stone. A thing that is good, and a thing that is bad, and the ends are never a justification for the means.
Mm-hmm.
That it is better to try and fail, knowing you will fail, but because trying is the right thing.
Right.
And that's the Sinclair character. And I think he's a very pivotal sort of, there are people out there who will do what is right simply because they are good people. And I think he is like a kind of a message. It's okay to have this kind of character. It's okay to be this kind of character. Because as soon as the rabbi shows up and he's like, hey, did you know Susan's dad died? Well, you know when Susan's dad died, and he's like, hang on a minute. Her dad died? And the rabbi's like, oh my God, did you not know? Yeah, well, she's very closed off, because her mom died, and then her brother Ganya died.
Susan has traveled a hard road, Commander. Now that her family is gone, that road is harder still. I'm worried about her.
How can I help?
It is Jewish tradition to mourn the dead by sitting shiva, so that family, friends, members of the Jewish community can gather at the home of the bereaved to offer comfort and also help fulfill the obligation of prayer for the departed.
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
And this is his first mention. Actually, we haven't mentioned it before. And he's like, why did Susan not take the time off? Could you not give her the time off? And he's like, she never even asked. I mean, I would have. He's like, yeah, she can go anytime. We'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she can take as much time as she
needs.
needs.
Yeah, just say the word. She can go do her, I want her to have the time to express her grief. I will do what it takes to give her the space that she needs to be able to fully express her emotions in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Which, when you read Becoming Superman, makes a lot of fucking sense. And I think another thing that Sinclair and Babylon 5 is the idea of having a place that isn't perfect but is worth fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
That not everything is perfect, but that doesn't mean that it isn't worthy of love and that it isn't worthy of protection.
Mm-hmm.
And we go back to them eating dinner at Fresh Air. And she's pulled out another frilly shirt. She didn't go full ball gown, but she did go flounce sleeve and another vest, a second vest. And she's like, how's stuff at home? And he's like, oh, Russia is Russia. Like your dad used to say. If you could harvest regret, Russia would be the world's fruit basket.
Wonderful.
So how are things back home?
They changed. They stay the same. Russia is Russia. Your father used to say, if regret could be harvested, Russia would be the world's fruit basket.
I remember.
That was really good.
The depiction of like the whole Russian, I don't know, like culture
Yeah.
in Babylon 5 is really interesting because through the lens of Ivanova,
Yeah.
we get, I don't know, this this view of Russian society and culture
Right.
that otherwise, like, you don't see it explained
Well,
this way.
J. Michael Straczynski earned his last name. Like his grandmother was Eastern European.
Mm-hmm.
And so she took her 2 kids. He had his father, Charles.
So is this kind of the view of the perspective on Russia that he was raised with?
Well, hang on, let me get there. So his mother is also his aunt or great. It's his
Family's complicated.
His grandfather started an affair with his niece and ended up having to marry her. And they moved to America together. So his mother and his grandfather and his grandmother are biologically related.
Okay.
And then, anyway, they didn't have a great marriage. Surprise, surprise. So she left to go back to visit her family in Eastern Europe. And she took the 2 kids for like a couple of months. And she spent all of his money buying fancy clothes because she wanted people to think that they were very successful.
Yeah.
And she was headed back, and they were taking a train from Poland, and they got on the train when the Blitzkrieg started. And she ended up trapped behind German lines for the entirety of the war. And so his dad grew up in like a Nazi encampment and was a raging Nazi. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, and then his mother was a 14-year-old prostitute sex worker.
Yeah.
That his dad started a relationship with and then ended up like kidnapping and abusing and marrying. And then she tried to run away and she got a restraining order. So he couldn't even come in California to come and get her. But she left California, and as soon as she did, he went and got her and took her back to New Jersey. And he lived with his father, who had been trapped behind enemy lines, grew up in a Nazi encampment, and his grandmother, who was like, he says none of them had anything remotely resembling a moral compass.
Okay.
Because his grandmother wanted to be an actress. So she pretended to be pregnant so that the uncle that she had started an affair with would take her back to America with him, because he claimed that he had like a bunch of money in America, but because of American banking, he wasn't allowed to bring it back. But he had spent all of his money.
Okay.
And so they went back and they had nothing. And she had lied to him to get there, and he had lied to everybody to make them think he was successful. And so I think he has a lot of history with this mindset, the Eastern European mindset. And so I think that's why he's got such a good grasp of like Ivanova, the Russia is Russia.
Yeah.
Because a lot of his family was in the Soviet Union when she went back to visit them. And they had money. They lost their fortune in the Russian
collapse.
Yeah, the collapse. No, not the collapse of the Soviet Union, but the collapse of the Bolshevik Revolution.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was trying to think of how to
Yes.
phrase that, but yeah, the Bolshevik Revolution. So it's honestly fascinating. Like I was like, what? I listened to it to and from an appointment yesterday, which took me like 3 hours. So I got 3 hours in, and I was like, he's 10 years old. There's some fucked up shit, man. It's good. It's really good. It's good. I recommend reading it. It does put a lot of his type of writing into perspective, where he just loves he loves a Superman character. He loves a Sinclair type character, and I get it. I also love them, not for exactly the same reasons, but because I think anybody who grew up in something that felt traumatic and unstable loves a stable good guy character, because you don't have to wonder what's their angle.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, after he says that, she's like, yeah, Russia. I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. But I'm still Russian ethnically, but I'm not Russian geographically anymore. And he's like, yeah, so when are we going to sit Shiva for your dad? And
Which I had
she's
to
like,
look it up. It's a 7-day grieving.
yeah, it's a Jewish grieving thing where you sit and you like meditate on the person, share stories. It's like a grief process, which is kind of cool. It's neat. Instead of the, okay, so they died on Thursday. The funeral's Friday. The wake is Thursday. They're buried by Saturday. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why haven't you moved on?
Right.
The American process of grief, you know, and now you're $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in debt because that's how much it costs to get buried here. So Susan doesn't react well. She's like, oh, I can't. I'm needed. Like I have business. And he's like, oh no, I went and talked to Sinclair. Yeah, and he said that, you're totally allowed to just, quit. And
Right, and she's so offended.
She's like, you talked to Sinclair? And he's like, yeah, I'm a rabbi. I meddle. It's my job. And she's like, well, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. My dad controlled me my whole life, and now he's controlling me from his death, and I'm not going to fucking do it. And she leaves.
Commander Sinclair seems to think he can handle it. And he said you could have as much time as you need.
You spoke to the commander about this?
Yes. A fine man.
You should not have done that.
I'm a rabbi. When I see a Jew denying one of our most basic traditions, I meddle.
My father always tried to control my life when he was alive. I don't need anyone to take his place now that he's gone. Please excuse me.
She leaves. She's like, I'm done. I gotta go. I can't do this. And then he comes later with her legacy to apologize because maybe he meddled a little hard. It's like he's got something to get back to, and he's trying to rush her into Shiva, because he could have massaged this a little, and instead he's just like, so can we do this tomorrow? Because I already booked my return appointment. It's fine.
Well, I think his only purpose here, to deliver the legacy and to sit Shiva with her.
Yeah.
And if she's not going to do it, then he wants to get home.
Yeah. So I have other constituents. Like I traveled here for you, but there are other people that need me too. It's probably the vibe.
This isn't a vacation for me, so I'm not just going to hang out on the station.
Right. But he shows up and he's like, listen, I'm sorry. And she's like, no, I should not have reacted like that. And he gives her legacy, which is a samovar. That's it. It's a bin with a samovar in it.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, the samovar. And she pulls it out and sets it on the counter. And then we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
No, it's a tea making vessel.
A teapot?
A teapot. But it has a chamber for coals at the bottom and then a little chimney. So you put the coals in the bottom, you fill it with water, and then you can put the lid on and it will pass heat through the water.
Okay.
That's what it is. It's a Russian tea making vessel. Can they even get tea? Should have brought tea too. Oh, I guess it's organic material. It would have had to be in quarantine. Or not. He could just kill the quarantine officer like everybody else does. And this is when Susan has her talk. Because this guy is pressing her to forgive her dad and to perform this ritual for him. And she's like, listen, I'm not sitting Shiva because I'm not a Jew anymore. Because I am. And I just am not ready to do it for him because I loved him. and I needed him because I had my mom and she loved me. And then when she died, he didn't love me anymore. He didn't go out of his way to make me feel loved and accepted the way my mom did. So I was just left with that void. And then when my brother died and I needed him and I needed his love, he didn't give it to me then. And so throughout my entire life, when I needed him, he wasn't there for me.
I cannot blame him for it.
I don't. I blame him for denying me his love. Even as Mama became incapable of giving me hers. I needed him, Yossel. And he wasn't there. My father wasn't there for me. And when Mother took her life and Ganya died, still he couldn't find a shred of love for me. So I left. And he never forgave me for it. As if I were the one who'd abandoned him.
And now that he has left for good, you cannot forgive him?
No, I can't.
Then the tragedy is greater than I thought. Without forgiveness, you cannot mourn, and without mourning, you can never let go of the pain.
And now you want me to forgive him and to forget what a shitty person he was to me. And I can't do that. I'm not gonna. And the rabbi says, well, you have to forgive in order to mourn. And without mourning, you will always be in pain. And I'm not honestly sure how I feel about that statement.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are definitely things that happen to people where I don't think forgiveness is the move.
It depends on what you mean by forgiveness.
Okay.
And one way that people mean forgiveness is accepting that the person didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Right? But another way people talk about forgiveness is kind of accepting that it happened. And I've heard people describe it as forgiveness is a selfish thing. Like if I'm forgiving somebody, that's a selfish thing for me because I am letting go of this connection, like a negative connection with that person.
I'm not giving you that space.
For my own benefit.
It's like the monk thing where it's I carried her for a minute.
I'm freeing up all that emotional and mental load and like space that I've been keeping. Like they've been living rent free in my mind. By forgiving them, I'm letting that go.
Yeah.
Letting go of that piece of history with them. And sometimes letting go of that history and kind of just putting it to the side so it's not in the context of future interactions with them, you can have a better relationship going forward. But most of the time it's just, that doesn't deserve to live in my head anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't refer to that as forgiveness.
Right, that's why it gets
which is probably my religious trauma.
right. The modern Western Christian notion of forgiveness is definitely
tell them it's okay.
Tell them you forgive them, and
I'm sorry I got mad that you hit me. And I forgive you for
and then now you're
my misunderstanding.
Happy friends or happy family members again.
And I'm never going to bring it up and we're never going to discuss it and we're just going to let this fester and yeah.
But I think they mean you need to let go. You're holding on to not a grudge, but you're holding on to that resentment. Yeah. You need to let that go so you can be more yourself.
Yeah.
In the moment.
You needed
for other
it.
Things.
He didn't do it. There's no way to go back and change it. You need to, not need to, but it's okay to accept that.
Right. You need to process it.
Yeah.
So that it's not, you can turn it into compost for future growth.
Yeah.
But you need to stop holding on to it. And I think that's what they mean by forgiveness.
In that context, I'm okay with that statement. Yeah, this is probably my religious trauma just rearing its ugly head. Oh, that guy was mean to you? Well, you need to just forgive him. Okay. Yeah, all right. It's kind of like you can't keep replaying his mistakes in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You got to just realize that they were made, that he was human, that there's no way to change it, that you are who you are because of what he did. And would you change that?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes yes, sometimes no, but also you can't. So you just have to you have to process the pain so that you can move on to other things. That I get. But he goes to leave. This is when he's getting onto the White Star liner, which is probably a good thing she interrupts him. Because he's like, so you're not gonna, no Shiva, no nothing. And she's like, nope, I own my pain. It is mine.
You cannot have my pain.
Exactly. If you didn't know what that was, do read the Stormlight Archive.
Oathbringer.
I know it's intimidatingly large. Just read it on an ebook and you can't see how big the books are. So as the rabbi is leaving, Susan replays that moment from Born to the Purple when she was talking to her dad. And he was like, listen, I never loved you the way I should have. I respected you, but sometimes a daughter doesn't need their father's respect. She needs his love. And in that, I failed you. And I'm sorry. And will you forgive me?
Right. His dying request is that she forgive him.
Yeah. That, listen, I'm sorry. I was not a good dad. And I'm really sorry. And she's like, oh, okay. All right, Uncle Yassel, I'll do it. It's like okay. He asked me to try to move on. He asked me. He admitted.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing for her is he said, yeah, it was me.
Right. From her perspective, she resents that he never even tried.
Yeah.
And so with that last call with him, she's like, okay, he did admit that he failed.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to convey his depth of feeling for her, and that he failed at conveying his feelings for her. But this time he actually tried.
Yeah, and it was an important moment, and she recalls it, and she's like, okay, all right. He asked me to. He admitted fault, and okay, I owe it to him and to me to try to move on from this. To try to move, and I think she realized I've been holding on to this one small part of him, and I've forgotten everything else about him.
There were good parts.
Yeah, and so she calls him back.
Uncle Yassel? Stay. Help me sit Shiva.
And she goes to Sinclair and is like, all right, I'm doing it. I'm sitting Shiva. And he's like, cool. Take your time. You are on indefinite leave. You just let me know when you're ready to come back. And he's like, oh, but friends can come, right? And I'm your friend. Because she yelled at him a little bit earlier because she was like, you have no right to interfere in this. And he's like, you are allowed to be weak. You are allowed to mourn. You are allowed to take time off. And she's like, okay, but I don't fucking want to. This is when he's like, you can sit. And she's like, I don't want to sit. And he's like, it's an order. And she doesn't sit. He's like, sit the fuck down, Susan. And she's like, I'm allowed to have any emotions that I want. You're right. And I'm also allowed to choose how I express them.
You're the best officer I've ever served with, Ivanova. I couldn't run this station without you. But I also consider you a friend. And as your friend, I'm telling you, it does no good to bottle up your feelings. Your father's dead. You need to express your grief or it'll eat you up.
I appreciate your concern, Commander. And your friendship. But My feelings are my own. And how I display them or not is my choice. Now, if I may return to my duty.
Which is entirely correct. And this is why I love Susan as a character, and she's only going to get better, which is she gets to be both the strong female character and a complex character.
Right.
A lot of times when we get into strong female characters, they are just I'm really strong. I'm the strong female character. I'm just so strong. And they get nothing else. They cannot cry. They cannot be feminine. They have to emulate the masculine.
I've heard people phrase it as, to write a strong female character, you just took a strong male character, like stereotype, and you stuck boobs on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you take away even some things that you can give male characters because they cannot have a moment of weakness or they will be hysterical women again. It's like their entire facade will melt and you'll realize that they are a soft, squishy female on the inside. And honestly, it's one of the things that we continue to fail at in literature is just the creation of, if you can give me an author with a strong female character, I'll read everything they've ever written. And Susan gets to be the strong female character, and she gets to have these moments where she cries. And she gets to admit that sometimes the strength is a facade. She gets to admit that sometimes I am deliberately choosing to not express my emotions, and that is my choice. And it is. And that is a great moment. And this is a good moment when Sinclair comes back and is like, can I come? Can I see you in grief? Is that allowed? And she's like,
because part of being close friends is being vulnerable in front of each other.
Yeah. And he's like, I consider you my friend. I've stated that, but I'm not putting anything on you. No expectations on you. If you want this to be an entirely private moment and you don't believe that it's something you want to share with me, let me know.
Yeah.
Let me know.
If you invite me, I will accept.
Yeah.
But no pressure.
Right. And she's like, I would love for you to come.
Yeah.
I would, which is like, yes, you are my friend. Yes, I'm okay with you seeing me, not with my braid done up and my makeup on and my uniform cinched tight. Like I'm okay with you seeing me a little unbuttoned, which is a big moment and it's an important moment and it's a small moment. And Babylon 5 is good at giving you the small moments for character development. They are so crucial. Like we just finished the Dark Tower 4 and it's fine. Listen to the episode if you want to know my full feelings on it. I didn't think it was fine. It's all a lie. But what we didn't get is any small moments. And it really leaves you feeling like you don't know who anybody is. Because where character growth really happens, where friendship grows, where stories really move forward is in the small interactions between two people.
Right.
I
think that's why you like K-dramas so much.
Yeah, because we focus on all of the tiny...
We get all that slow pacing.
The tiny moments.
Small, quiet moments
cooking
together.
Dinner. Yes, we're trying to save the world from the big, evil, bad demon guy, but sometimes we cook dinner together too. Like there's...
And we tease each other about seasoning
there's
food.
Yeah. There's more than just big. And big is fine, but you have to have perspective. You have to have small also. Last episode was big. This episode is small. Macro and micro. And luckily she invited Sinclair because the rabbi literally put an ad out on jdate.b5. It's like, hey guys, we're having a Jewish thing. I need all Jews on the station to show up. Are these all of her friends? Or are they literally just the Jews on the station?
I don't know.
Because she acts like she doesn't know who any of these people are. She's just like, and they're like they went out on the lot and they were like, you look Jewish. Are you Jewish? And they're like, yeah, I'm Jewish. And he's like, cool. I got a thing for you. Come here. Come on. And not to be stereotypical or not to be like, what, I don't know. It just literally looks like they put an ad out on JDate. They were like, can you come in and be in this episode? And it's fine. It's cute. It's a good moment. I'm glad they gave her people to talk to.
Right.
Because it gives her, you know what, it's nice to have people who didn't know him. Because she says at the end, you guys didn't know who he was, but like, thank you for being here because it allowed me to reintroduce myself to who he was.
Right.
Because she gets to explain
because
to
she
these
had to
people.
tell stories about him. And then she
Yeah.
gets to remember, oh, okay, there was this one time and a good memory. And, and here's another good memory.
Yeah.
And then here's a time where it's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And
we learn-
everybody's like, yeah, that was the wrong thing to do. You're right to be mad at him for doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, but here was another good thing where, okay, maybe he was trying.
Yeah. It was good. And we got that cute, she tells a whole story about how she was obsessed with this Russian philosopher that her dad didn't like. And she was 13 and she had him take her to this guy,
talk that he gave.
This talk. And she stood up and asked a question and he refused to answer her question. And so her dad got up and verbally
Defended
berated
her.
him. Yeah. And then was like, it was a good question, Susan.
Yeah.
And that's a really sweet moment. One, because 13-year-old Ivanova was into like fringe Russian philosophy stuff. And we found out that her dad was a scholar, which makes sense as to why he hated that both of his kids went into the military.
Yeah.
And at the very end, she finally gets to cry for her dad.
Mm-hmm.
And Sinclair gives her a little hug.
And Claudia Christian pulls out all the stuff.
She also has a book. It's called like Babylon Confidential. She's been super active, or her account has been super active on Facebook lately. And it popped up. Apparently she wrote it a while ago.
Yeah.
And it was like, guys, we can, and it's her story of like drugs and I want to read it now. I'm like, I'm ready. But yeah, she does it. She sells, because mostly up till this point, they were like, can you look stern? And she was like, I mean, yeah. And they're like, cool, look stern. But this was like, okay, you know what? You can break. You can cry. And it's a good moment because she almost cries when her dad dies and she doesn't. You can also try not crying. This was sweet. This was good. This was needed. This was necessary. This Susan growth.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, they're putting the rabbi on the White Star liner, maybe. Hope you make it home.
This is a different flight.
Yeah, but I don't know. Are there only a certain number of shuttles? Anyway, they send him off. And then she's talking to Sinclair and she's like, okay, I'm almost ready to come back to work. And he's like, oh, thank God. I'm getting so tired of double shifts. And she's like, I'll remember you said that the next time Miss Sakai comes on the station. I totally forgot he had a girlfriend. It has been so long. I was like, wow, good plug. Good sticking that in there.
Yeah. Good reminder.
Yeah. I mean, this was a filler episode in some ways, and a well-utilized filler episode, I would say. You could miss this episode and you wouldn't necessarily miss anything so significant you'd notice.
Right.
But you would miss this Ivanova moment and this Sinclair moment. And I got to tell you, I have mentally not given Sinclair the credit that I should have been giving him. In my mind, I'm always like, I got to get through the Sinclair season. And then I tell people, I'm like, you got to get through the first season. You got to get through the first guy. The second guy's better. And then I think it's fine. Everybody can look it up and find out that there's a different captain the next season. And you know, in the past when we watched it, I was like, ugh, okay, we're almost done with Sinclair. And I think this time, I think the last time we watched this all the way through, we were in college, which would have made me far younger I currently am. But I think like settled, way older me is way more appreciative of the Sinclair dad vibe.
Yeah.
The way he is a caregiver for the people that he works
and a protector
for has really hit me different this time through, where I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and I'm noticing a lot more of the depth. Like, hold on, I'm your friend. I want to be there for you in your vulnerable moments.
Yeah.
In a not pushy way.
Right. It's a good. Okay. All right. I see it. This is good. I'm glad we're revisiting this. I definitely feel like I have a deeper appreciation for him as a character. And for even Garibaldi, who's fine. He's just...
Yeah, like first watch through, Garibaldi was mostly comedy relief.
Yeah, he's the comedy relief. And this time I'm like, okay. He's a man who's lived a life and hasn't always made choices he's proud of. And now he's older and he has to look back at the wreckage.
And he's taking full advantage of his last
chance.
Last best hope.
Yeah.
For
peace.
Success.
Yeah.
For fulfillment.
And then Ivanova's like, I'm trying to be taken seriously. I'm trying to be respected, but I don't know I don't know the difference between respect and love because I was never showed the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a well-utilized filler episode. And I think that's about all we really need to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited about continuing. And also a little bit sad because we're now over the hump. Halfway, yeah. So I guess we'll just leave it at that. We live for the one.
We die for the one.
Until next time, friends.
Bye.
Though it's traditional to recite the morning prayer in Hebrew, I would like to read it in English tonight so that my good friend Jeffrey Sinclair may share it with us. O God, full of compassion, who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering winds of thy divine presence, among the holy pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament, to André, my father, who has gone to his eternal home. Amen.
Amen.